How many people on earth would you say could speak from a reasonable perspective as to what Caitlin Clark is going through? How many women on earth could you say could speak from a reasonable perspective on what Caitlin Clark is going through? Well, one of them is Serena Williams, right? I mean, Serena, obviously a huge star, considered by many, if not most, the greatest women's tennis player of all time. Obviously, a unique story in tennis, considering her and her sister, where they come from, what they look like, and being and making such an impact on that sport. Obviously, she was a star when she was young as well. Now she's a bit of an elder stateswoman, if you will. But she spoke on Caitlin Clark talking to Time Magazine, specifically when it comes to social media.
About it, and she said she doesn't. What did she say? She doesn't have a social. She doesn't look at her social, and I get it. I don't either, and I think it's so important to just to continue to do what she's doing, and no matter what other people do, then um, if people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do, basically, and hopefully she'll continue to do what she's doing.
If they're negative, it's because they can't do what you do. And so many people seem to not be able to comprehend the concept of not being on social media all the time. And I've made a distinction between social media and real life. I'm on social media a lot. I'm finding topics for this show, finding topics for everything else I do. So I'm guilty of being on it. But I also see the difference and the distinction, between being in the crowd of the Liberty game against the Fever versus being online, where you see people about everything. And that was part of the controversy from the other day. But this goes back a while with Caitlin Clark saying that she doesn't spend much time on social media, because this was an older interview when she talked about the same subject.
TBT about everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just social media for you. I think being able to get off that. Social media is not really the greatest place to ever be on. I think that's something that I've tried to do over the course of my career, is not be on social media too much. And
so, you see the worst things when you're on social media. And of course, nobody should, that doesn't give anybody an excuse to say hateful things, right? And Clark, I hope, said what anybody who thought she needed to say something in that direction needed to hear when she spoke out against people using her name for racism and misogyny and the like, and saying that all the women deserve to be treated with respect and it shouldn't be done. But, people are using her name for all sorts of stuff. And if she was on social media, she'd see a lot of hate. We act like there's only hate going one way. A lot of hate's coming toward Caitlin Clark. If Caitlin Clark was on social media, she would see that tweet from Dejanay Carrington, a fellow player, saying, "Dog, how one cannot be bothered by their name being," I've been over this. We all have a platform. We all have a voice, and they all hold weight. Silence is a luxury. And then 5 minutes later, we had a quote from Caitlin Clark. If Caitlin Clark was on social media, she might see her teammate, Nalissa Smith, taking a picture with Dejanay Carrington. I mean, she probably saw that in the arena too. I'm just making a wisecrack there. That's their personal business. Doesn't really matter to me. But it could impact, team dynamics in a certain sense. But the soap opera thing isn't really worth diving into. But if Caitlin Clark was on social media, she might also see the head coach of the United States Olympic team talking about the fact that the W focuses on more than one player. Come to the game as we start off right. Hashtag 12 teams. Hashtag the W is more than one player. Because they only care about Caitlin, that part. And I get feeling that way. Look, I do. I honestly do get feeling that way. But that's some of the more mild things Caitlin Clark would see said about her on social media if she went on social media. And so, we're only talking about what some might be saying in Caitlin Clark's name, and I believe a lot of them are trolls, versus what is being said towards Caitlin Clark, which I think also counts. I think it also counts. But, I've said that there's such a difference, because the truth of the matter is Caitlin Clark is overwhelmingly popular with black, white, gay, straight, male, female, everywhere in between. There may be some real issues of resentment in the league. We've seen that. I don't think it's possible to completely ignore the coach of the U.S. women's basketball team saying that stuff online and then Caitlin not being on the team. I'm not saying that played into it, but it's certainly worthy of exploring, as I think you've seen Christine Brennan try to do there. But more evidence is always coming out about the fact of what I just said, the popularity. The WNBA media rights apparently could increase to something like $240 million annually, which would quadruple. That's, the effect. The average WNBA game this year is close to the average NBA game. The attendance is way up. People are spending their real money to go to a real game, not to type online. And the Indiana Fever are responsible for 1/3 of the attendance in the entire league this year. In the entire league. And the media rights deal. You know what that means? If the media rights deal goes up like that, it means the share of the pie gets larger. So the share is larger. So everybody gets paid more. That's what's going to happen here. Everybody's going to eventually wind up getting paid more. And this is all, a great thing for the WNBA and women's basketball in the long run. But if you are on social media, you might think otherwise. You might think the world is collapsing upon itself and that Caitlin Clark is supposed to be a freedom fighter rather than a basketball player. And again, she said the right thing. I'm hoping that is it. I don't know what else she could possibly say on that subject matter. But there you have Serena Williams, an all-time great, relating to the fact that Caitlin doesn't want to be on social media all the time, because while she's condemning the hate others have received, especially as more people are, I think, online in support of her, but more people just online to stir ish up because of this topic being so popular right now, she would also see hate at her. That's what she would see, which can't be good up here. And actually, reality, again, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes. Reality would tell you that things are really good. So maybe it is smart to not spend so much time on social media. Or you could just trust Serena.